The development of the duodenum. Duodenum, it is just developed from two sources. That is, first and upper half of the second part of duodenum, they are derived from terminal part of foregut. For the upper half of second part, what is the level? That is above and including the hepatopancreatic ampulla. So this is the level. Up to this it is derived from terminal part of foregut. Below the ampulla it is developed from the proximal portion of the midgut. Now part of the gut that give rise to duodenum forms a loop. So this portion which is going to form the duodenum, that form a loop attached to the posterior abdominal wall by a mesentery which is called as mesoduodenum. The dual development is represented by the nature of blood supply. So duodenum is supplied by anastomosis between superior and inferior pancreatico-duodenal arteries. The superior pancreatico-duodenal artery is coming from celiac artery and inferior one is coming from superior mesenteric artery. So once this loop, that is duodenal loop, is formed, next step is that this loop falls to the right. So once this mesoduodenum is just hanging the duodenum from the posterior abdominal wall, and later on what is happening, the fall of the duodenum is occurring on the right side. Now this mesoduodenum fuses with the peritoneum of the posterior abdominal wall and most of the duodenum become retroperitoneal by the process of zygosis. So this phenomena by which it is fused to the posterior abdominal wall, we call it as the process of zygosis. But except proximal 2.5 cm of the first part of the duodenum, so that part remain with mesentery or mesoduodenum, but rest of the duodenum it becomes retroperitoneal. Now as we have discussed the development of the duodenum, now coming to the anomalies of duodenum. So the anomaly which is related with the duodenum is that is duodenal atresia. So it is rare condition in which the lumen fails to recanalize. The portion of the gut above the obstruction is distended. If this is the level of obstruction, you can see the dilated duodenum. And more frequent, what is the level? It is seen mostly below the level of hepatopancreatic ampulla. It may be caused by annular pancreas. So annular pancreas is the condition that we will discuss with the development of the pancreas. So it is just enclosing the duodenum all around, so causing the constriction of the duodenum. Now coming to the development of the jejunum and ileum. Jejunum and ileum, they are basically derived from the midgut loop. Now we have seen this is the duodenal loop which is going to form the duodenum. Then jejunum and ileum, they are arising from the midgut loop. Now jejunum and most of the ileum is developing from the pre-arterial segment of the midgut loop. The terminal portion of the ileum is derived from post-arterial segment of the midgut loop. So this is the midgut loop which has pre-arterial. Pre-arterial, we take it as a landmark, that is superior mesenteric artery is running in this midgut loop reaching up to the apex of that loop. So above that level we call it as pre-arterial segment and below that level we call it as a post-arterial segment. So terminal portion of the ileum is derived from post-arterial segment of midgut loop. Now cecum and appendix. From a diverticulum called cecal bud arising from the post-arterial segment of the midgut loop. If this is the midgut loop, this is the superior mesenteric artery. Now this portion, post-arterial segment, is going and giving rise to the cecal bud. You can see the cecal bud over here. Now later on what is happening, the growth of the cecum it happens and the proximal portion it forms the cecum and distal one remain as a narrow one and which is called as appendix. So proximal part of the bud it grows rapidly to form the cecum. You can see it is dilated one and distal portion it remain narrow which is called as appendix. So this portion is cecum, this portion is cecum, this distal portion is known as the appendix. Now during the greater part of the fetal life, the appendix arises from the apex of the cecum. So just before you can say a month or 1.5 months before the birth, what is happening, the lateral wall of the cecum it grows much more rapidly than the medial one. Hence the appendix is coming and it is lying on the medial side. You can see here. So appendix is lying on the medial side. Why this position is happening? It is because of the differential growth of the cecum, of the lateral wall of the cecum. Coming to the development of the large intestine, or we call it as colon. So three sets are there, that is ascending colon, transverse colon and descending colon. Out of this, the ascending colon is derived from the post-arterial segment of the midgut loop. So it is midgut loop is contributing to it, distal to the cecal bud. So this is the cecal bud you can see here. The distal portion is going to form the ascending colon. Now this transverse colon is arising, or that is right 2/3 portion of the transverse colon is arising from the midgut loop, that is post-arterial segment, and left 1/3 is derived from the hindgut. And descending colon is derived from the hindgut only. Coming to the rectum, it is derived from the primitive rectum, that is dorsal division of cloaca. So we will discuss the development of rectum in detail during our classes to the genitourinary system development. In that we will discuss that. Now anal canal is derived partly from the endoderm and partly from the ectoderm. So endoderm portion is of primitive rectum and ectoderm portion is of anal pictor or proctodium. Line of junction of endoderm and ectoderm is represented by anal valves called as pectinate line. Thank you very much. If you like my channel, kindly subscribe it, like it and share it. Thank you very much.